what we are going to be doing going forward. This is just the first of its kind. It's not the last. This is the first of its kind. We are going to be having a lot of this training session. There was a poll on the group that I needed to get our attention on which of the training we really needed. And from the responses, I can see the one that people are more interested in. So we are working on, by the mercies of God, we are working on a, another really deep training on those ones that people pointed that they are more interested in. So it is not random, it's going to be direct and detailed for each and everyone that voted. So that was why it is necessary to vote. If you haven't voted, please do well to. I know I said it has closed, but do well to vote. I'll pin the poll on the group again. So do well to vote because it's going to direct us on how we are going to take the next training session. Now, just before Mr. Raymond comes in, we'll take a prayer for a minute. But before then, the whole essence of these things the this bottom line essence of the teens community corner is to grow us both spiritually and technically. Is to grow both spiritually and technically and or productively. So I'll take my time to really introduce the community next weekend. So I would really implore for everyone. It's going to be an awesome class on filmmaking, cinematography next weekend, and also more starting from whatever we learn today. We take it to next week, and then many of us that want to practice, that want to shoot, that want to use that phone videography or camera, you're going to learn a whole lot, right? So please invite people to join next week. It's the last class, it's the last set of sessions on cinematography and filmmaking. Today we're having content creation, rather story writing, and also filmmaking because the man here is my boss. Is my guy, is my boss. Is if you know the Willows, that is our story writer there. That is our script writer there. That is our assistant director. So it's not child's play that is here for us tonight. So let's just take a minute of prayer. Father, we thank you. We give you all the glory. Thank you for the last two sessions. Thank you for last weekend. Thank you for 2 weekends ago. Thank you for how you helped us because we know by mercy it is just your help. Today, Lord, we're asking again for help. We're asking you to help our facilitator, and we're asking you to help us to learn what is needed for what we want to achieve in life. Thank you, blessed Redeemer. Glory be to your eternal name. For in Jesus' mighty name we have prayed. Amen. Mr. Raymond, sir, you are welcome to the Teens Community Corner Virtual Media Bootcamp Cohort 1, or let's just say Part 1, whatever you call it. You're welcome, sir. It's an honor and privilege to have you here. An honor. I know how busy your schedule is, so it's an honor and privilege to have you here. And we are looking forward to the training session next week.
well-to-do. She's not a poor person. So all of this is going to affect the story in the long run. Then the next thing after the character, you must know the goal. What is the goal in the story? Then the next thing is the obstacle. I've said before. The next thing is the conflict. Then the next thing is the twist or the change that happens. The end result of the story. So as a writer, have these things in your story before you start even writing dialogue. I'll come again if you want to write. First of all, the character, everything about the character, the backstory, the details about the character. Next thing is the goal. What does the character want? What is obstructing the character? What is that obstacle? The next thing is what's the conflict that's going to happen? Is it, for example, for Spirit of Infirmity, the conflict was she had the spirit of infirmity. Actually, she had cancer. That's the spirit of infirmity. So she was battling with a spirit. That is of the conflicts. Then finally, the change, the twist is that she became healed. She was delivered. So the next thing I want to talk about is the story development. The story development. First of all, as a writer, you must introduce your characters. So you're introducing your character, you're introducing their work. For example, in Spirit of Infirmity, the character was a lady who was a doctor. So we had to introduce who she was. We had to tell the people who she was. Every story begins with an introduction of who the main character is. For example, the story that I'm thinking about right now, the way I want to start that story is that I'm going to start with the guy telling the audience the poor nature of the guy. So the guy is supposed to be a poor guy who later became rich, but you have to go through a lot. So the way I'll start is that I'm going to start with okay. So I'm going to start with maybe showing the guy maybe in a what do you call it now? They're doing a conductor work or doing bricklaying, like molding block, maybe amongst his friends, just molding block, right? So I'm going to start with that. Then I want to also in the story, the father of the guy is supposed to be sick. So in that scene of him making blocks with his friend, just talking about life, I can show teaching. I can show that his father is sick there, and I can also show that he's a hardworking man. Maybe as his molding block, people are like hailing him. Oh, guy, you know the tire, your body, I saw you strong. Or you can show the guy with leadership qualities. Maybe he's coordinating people. He's telling the other guys, guy, I have to move this block where now? What did happen? So I'm introducing his personality. That's the setup. That he's a leader, he's hardworking, he's poor, and his father is sick. How can I introduce that his father is sick? He can get a call from home from his sister and say, brother, that you know the cough again, or daddy asthma don't start again, so he's tense at that scene, and then we see him rush away from the place and goes to the house. So setup it can be one scene, two scene, three scene. So maybe the second scene I can introduce the house,
Somebody
the
say
family. So the father is
2026.
sick, show the brother's condition. Then if I want to show that one of them is going to school, or want to show that the sister is a wayward person, I can introduce it in that scene that they were taking when the guy was with the father, the sister can just walk in with another guy drunk. You understand? Can just walk in drunk. Now I've established that they have a sister who is a wayward person. So 1 to 3 scenes, I should be able to establish and tell the people who the characters are, the background knowledge of each person. So it's not like later on, except the story demands it. It's not later, you now introduce a character that was supposed to be known from the beginning. So the setup is very important. Introduce the character, the problem, the word, the environment, what is happening. Then the next thing is um you have to introduce
Happy hearts.
an inciting incident. So for example, in that story that I'm building, what is the incident that can happen? Then the next point of the story is the midpoint, a huge surprise. Something changes suddenly. Something changes suddenly. So at this point, maybe the father just suddenly gets well. I don't know if you've seen it in the story. They look as if the problem has not been solved. But later on, the problem, there's a twist where the audience were thinking, okay, things are not going well for him. Then suddenly something bad just happens. So maybe in this midpoint, I can say he now finally got a job, right? And then maybe the father was not getting well. Everybody like, thank God, the things are not getting better. All of a sudden, one huge crisis just happened. So the midpoint is that it's like the story now breathes. There's something just suddenly opens up, or there's just a sudden change in everything in the story. Then the next thing will happen is the crisis, the heightened crisis. So the heightened crisis could that the father may just die. See, or the sickness will just get so worse, or maybe something in the office will just happen that they want to sack the guy. So that will now increase the intensity of the movie and make the actor be on the edge and seek for solution. So in seeking for solution is what will now lead to the climax. So that seeking for solution, for example, for the movie Spirituals, we see that what's it called? The crisis was when they lost their daughter. That's for Spirituals 2 now. Was when the man lost his daughter or his son, right? So that was the heightened crisis. So that now made them to push harder for solutions. So that's the climax. The climax is when we have the final confrontation. So it is now where the battle begins. So it's either a battle of good and in evil, truth versus lies, faith versus fear. So that climax has to happen before a final resolution. In action movie, they call it when the actor and the bulls now meets. The actor will now be fighting with the bulls. Before now, the actor have been fighting and maybe fighting the agents, right? Or the what do you call it now? The stewards of the bulls of the villain, right? But finally, they will not see in the screen where the actor now finally meets the Oga himself and fights him. So that the climax, final confrontation. They will not have the resolution. What now happens? So the resolution should have a catharsis. Or what that means is that you leave the audience satisfied. You can't say that after all the guy have suffered for that story I'm talking about, the guy have suffered for many years. You're still will not end the guy now died. That's a very useless story. People will just be angry. What kind of movie is this? So the resolution should kind of leave the audience satisfied. Or after they don't suffer, this is now the end. So it's actually giving a lesson that no matter what you go through, your father was sick, you got many rejection at the midpoint, as if things were working for you. All of a sudden, crisis came again, and then you had to hold on to your faith. Your friends betrayed you. Things got worse. You had to start fighting, fighting demons from the father's house, fighting all of those things. So then later on, you now won, and then people are happy at the end of the movie. Have you ever watched a movie where the actor died? Have you ever watched a movie where the actor died? How did you feel? You felt, I don't know. Have I watched a movie? I think I watched a movie where the actor went and died. It was so annoying. I felt like, what kind of movie is that? I felt like I feel like entering the scene and just fighting everybody. How can an actor die in a movie? But yeah, but the story should be able to leave your audience satisfied. So even if the actor dies, he dies for a good cause, right?
Satisfied. But most times, maybe the script writer wanted to achieve something. It's not even in real life. Sometimes some situations does not like end well, something like that. So let's say some stories are not really meant to end that in, like, the resolution is not really meant to be happy ending or something. Maybe you want to, like, it's not just that you wanted it not to end happily. You wanted to achieve something, a life lesson or something with the story.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying. So let me give an example. Sorry, just give me a second. Let me lock my. So just give me a second, guys. I'm coming. Okay, so yeah, I understand what you're saying. Like, for example, this movie, Love Like Raymond. I don't know if you've seen it. So that movie, it didn't. It looked like it didn't really end well, or it didn't really ended well. For example, um, when Emma got pregnant, and then Raymond escaped. Raymond was supposed to suffer, but Raymond escaped. But Emma was not the one who had to bear the consequences. She was pregnant. She lost a relationship. She lost a relationship with God. You know, a lot of things happened. She was beaten. So, for that story, it's something called cause and effect. So Emma had reaped what she sowed. So that is the satisfaction for the audience. I cannot end the story to say, okay, Emma was a good girl all along. She didn't do anything bad. Then something bad now happened to her. What message are you trying to pass to your audience? The purpose of a story is to create an experience that can inspire your audience, can give hope to your audience, that can teach a lesson. So if you're telling a story that's going to end bad, there should be a cause. There should be maybe something that she had done. You can point out to them there's something she did that later on resulted in a consequence. So that can be an instruction to your audience. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. So that's the case for stories like this. So I say I'm running about 8:30. So let me just move on to, there are lots to talk about in story development, but let me move on to Mr. Femi, you can show the slide or the picture on the screen. So let me just move on to screenplay itself and the format. Tomorrow we can talk about more about the golden rules. Okay, great. Can we all see this? If you can see it, please just unmute your mic and say you can see.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is the format, right? So this is the format for the screenplay. So I will send you guys this picture so you can go through it and everything. So of course you have, after the first page, which is the title, your name, your email, your number, and everything, and the name of the project. The next page is when your story begins. So we have an establishment, what we call the slug line. The slug line is what we is like a heading that tells you where and when the scene took place. Every screenplay must have this. So exterior, EXT there means the exterior, right? Saying you that it was shot outside or is meant to be shot outside. Then you have the place and then you have the time. The next thing you are having is the action, or the action line or action description. So like I said here, I said like I said earlier, I said you must always try to show something instead of just telling. So in this point, see the driver's door opens and John steps out. He looks around, tense. He pulls a gun from his coat. Are you seeing something here that everything is done? What do they call that in English? Present tense. Nothing is written in past tense. So he didn't say the driver opened the door and John stepped out. He looked around. You see that? No. Present tense. The driver opens the door. So everything is present tense. Very important for your action. I hope we got that. So after the action, the next thing we have the character. Then we'll have the character name. Then you can take your time to go through it. What is a parenthesis? Parentheses are like a short description or a short direction for the actor.
So
Example,
that's
so for example, when I'm writing, I always think about sets. I always vision the set, envision the movie after production. So I'm already seeing the movie in my head how it's going to be. So that is helping me to direct why I'm writing. So for example, I want someone to say something whispering. So the way I would write it is I will put a parenthesis, more like a small bracket, close to the character, and I'll write whispering, and I'll write what the person will say. So that's the use of parentheses. So um so there are lots to say here. I'm just trying to see which one can I quickly just talk about. Okay, the standard screenplay format. So of course you have to use the US letter 8.5 by 11 inch. So you just go to your format in your Word document and choose US letter, and this is the size. Then the font must be the Korean U. The font size must be 12. The left margin, you know what margin is now? Left margin must be 1.5 because of your spiral binding. If you're going to be binding, if it's too close to the margin, it may cut into your writing. So we give 1.5 inches on your left hand side and 1 inch for your right hand side. And of course, the top margin 1 inch, bottom margin 1 inch. What I mean, top margin means the space between the beginning of the paper and then the space between the beginning of the paper and the first word that's written there, which is your fading. Then for the line spacing, you use a single space. So everything that is written on one page, the screen time is meant to be 1 minute. 1 minute. So if you follow all of this description, your screen time for each page is supposed to result to 1 minute. 1 minute. So all the dialogues, the action, everything is supposed to be under 1 minute. That's what I'm trying to say. That's the screen time for each page. So I want to go through everything here. And if you have questions, I don't know if there is a group chat that someone can ask questions, but you can always ask a question. Maybe throw it to Mr. Femi after you've gone through all of this. Now, Mr. Femi, please show the other picture. Okay, so this just still emphasizes on what I've been saying. You have your slug line. The first thing you write after the transition. Transition is those fading and all of that. But this is the slug line. Then you have your action line. Then you have your character. Now there's something here, OS, off screen. So let me just quickly explain that. So sometimes, many times, we put all of these things so that the editor, the cinematographer, and the director can know what you want to happen. So this Kira now, the reason for this off screen is that she's going to be seeing this thing. Stace, you ready for the gossip? Get marathon. Besides, one is all queued up. Get your booty in here. Yeah. So this off screen means she's not going to be on camera or in the camera. She's not going to be seen by the viewers when she's saying this thing. That's what off screen means. You can say off screen or off camera. Another example is, let's say the camera is on someone knocking on the door. Someone is knocking the door. Hello, is anybody home? And then you hear a voice from inside the house. It says, I'm coming. Hello, I'm coming. So that voice, the camera is not on that person. If the camera is not on that person, you put OS. So all of this is important. So when the editor sees this, or when the cinematographer sees this, or the director, he knows that, okay, the camera is not supposed to be on the person, but only supposed to hear the person's voice. That's OS. Then VO, which is voiceover, of course. For example, you're on a call, and then the person is talking through the call, or you can use OC, off camera. Is your thought is what is heard, not your voice. That is voice over. So that's for that. Then the last thing I'll talk about is the another golden rule, which is start early, start late and leave early. So what this means is there's something I did in Spirit of Infirmity. So the girl and the guy was supposed to go out on a date. So in a normal conversation, if you go out on a date, in reality, you're supposed to have hello, good morning, and the person will say hi, good morning, how you doing? But you say I was fine, I'm fine. Hope your journey here was great. That makes your story very boring, especially when it's not the beginning of the movie. So if you're writing for scenes that's really conversation, start late. So the first thing that was on that date scene was not hi, how are you? The first thing you could do in a date scene is just so tell me about yourself. No need for the small talk or the pleasantries. That is starting late. And then leaving early is you don't have to say at the ending of the conversation, you will now say, okay, bye, it was great, it was great meeting you, or it was great talking to you. No, you just you end the scene with a very powerful point, a very powerful word that connects to the next scene or that sparks curiosity. So your conversations has to first of all add to the story. If it's not needed for the story, then it's not supposed to be there. It's supposed to add to the story in creating a question or in answering a question. Every conversation should contribute to the story, that creating a question, like sparking curiosity, telling the audience more about the person. For example, let me speak of infirmity as another example. So one of the things that were there that I wanted to paint was I wanted to talk more about the experience of the actor. So amongst the first few lines, um, the girl asked the question, I've been acting really I've been acting up, giving attitude to you. Why do you still choose me, or why do you still come after me? And then the guy said, because I love you, or something like that. Then the girl just sparked up love. That's the thing. That's the problem I have with people. They talk about love when they don't know what love is. So the reason I was doing that was because I was using that line to tell more about what the woman is experiencing, the lady's experiencing. So every dialogue, I think about it. If this dialogue is not telling me more about the actor, about the character, it's not adding to the story, it's not creating a question, it's not answering a question, there's no need for the dialogue. Every dialogue is intentional, it's contributing to the story in those silly ways that I've said. So the ending of the whole scene does not have to be. I think I ended that scene with when the guy says, "I look forward to doing more in your life." Sha, the point there, the reason I did that was because I wanted to show the audience that the guy is so yeah, I want to show that the guy was really interested and he really wants to be with the girl. Then the way I ended it was that the girl did not say anything, she just smiled and blushed. That smile and blush is already like a subtext. So she didn't have to say, oh, I accept you, be my guy. She just smiled and blushed after the guy said, I really look forward to doing more, being more in your life. So that is subtext. That's like I'm going to tell the audience that this girl don't give the guy he has accepted the whole thing. Like relationship is about to start right now. The next thing I did was I was not showing a scene where they now had to say, "Will you be my girl?" No, that makes your story boring. The audience wants to have a puzzle. They want to be able to think. So they're already thinking when they get blushed and the guy said that word, oh, sharp, relationship don't start. So that is the audience to figure out. The next thing I'm showing them is maybe they're on a call, or maybe they're uh they're maybe doing something together, maybe praying together, or share doing something in the relationship together. So that's to show again the point where the guy is asking the girl out. I don't know if you understand. So your story, one of the rules you must follow is start the story immediately as soon as possible. Avoid small talk, avoid dragging conversations. Then also be unpredictable. The simple example of this is if I ask you now, Chinyere, if I say, um, how are you? The next thing you have to tell me is I'm fine, right? And then maybe when I ask how was the day, you said my day was great. But for as a screenwriter, you must not be predictable. If you are writing "How are you," so instead of saying "I'm fine," you could say something like, "Why are you asking me that?" I think I use this line in our current movie. "Why are you asking me that?" You see, so that creates room for the other person to say something that's also interesting. It helps your conversation. It helps you to keep writing and keep writing. So don't in your head, don't think um like a don't how would I put this now? Don't be your viewer. Don't give your viewer what they want. I think that's the point. Don't give them what they're expecting to hear from you. Twist it, use a different word. That's what makes your conversation interesting. So that's another rules. Start late and leave early, and don't make your dialogues very predictable. So I'm going to be ending here this evening because again they gave me 8:30. So what will happen is when you go through those pictures, then you have a particular question that you want to ask, then you can drop it. I'll pick up from there. I'll talk about um I'll also talk about story tomorrow, and then some other terms that I didn't talk about today. Then I'll talk about social media, making skits, making short films, making sketches, mostly for YouTube. And those want to go into YouTube and all of that tomorrow. But yeah, I'm going to be stopping here tonight. So if you have any question I can just quickly address, you can ask. But the only one left online now.
Okay, sir. I feel like it needs to be a practical thing like that where you talked about how to write a screenplay. That's my main concern. Like the slug
Okay.
line, this thing. You said it should be written in some a certain way so that when it is being spiral bound, it will not cover those stuff you were saying. I didn't really get it like that.
Okay. Okay. But did you see the picture that was displayed?
Yeah, I was trying to go through it.
Okay. 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 All right. No problem. Um, like I said, you when you go through the whole picture, you will get understanding what I'm saying. I don't know if there's a room for practical class here in the program, but I think you're able to get when you go through that picture. It's logged line, like I said, just the heading. That's interior office, day, action line, character, dialogue. Then there's the formats. You set it on your Word. I don't know what's if you have a Word document, just go there and set the whole page. You margin, you set it at the left. When you open the Word document, you see settings where there is right margin, left margin, top margin, and bottom margin. You see it there. All you need to do is just to put in 1.5, 111. Then it will automatically set to that. Go to the page, I think page layout or page setup, that's the name they call it. Change it, it's portrait, change it to US letter. That's the inch is already there. I think
You
8.4
write
times.
with Word document.
Yeah, you can write with Word documents.
Okay. Is that the
That
only this thing you write with app you write with?
mostly Word document or Google Docs.
Google Docs?
Yeah, you can write Google Docs as well. You didn't know?
Uh,
It's same thing. You can write the word, you can write the Google Docs, but the difference is just this format I'm saying. If you change the font to this Courier font, use 12-inch, 12 what do you call it, size, the font size, and do this margin I've said. It will just be the same, what you just saw on the picture. That's what's going to happen. There's no magic about it. There's no specific or a very peculiar app that gives you these things, right? Although there are apps people use, the writers can use to write, but I'm saying now that Google Docs can give you the same thing if you know the format. Those apps this, set it correctly, and you have the same result. That's what I'm trying to say.
What of if you've written already on Google Docs and you set it to
Yes, yes. So just highlight everything, change the font size, change the font name, then adjust the margin, right? Adjust the margin, then the character, centralize it. The character should be centralized. Do you understand? That is the name of the person, like John, for example, should
yes.
be centralized and good. So when you adjust the margins and you adjust, like follow the description I just gave you, you see that everything will just turn into a screenplay. As simple as that. So what I do is that when I'm done writing on Google Docs, I can now do the formatting. Then I can now export as PDF to show a director or a script supervisor. Someone will go through it. Then corrections. Of course, you always get corrections. So when I get the corrections, I go back to my Google Docs, make the corrections, and then export again as PDF. So when I'm not finally done, sometimes I can send it as PDF, or sometimes I can send the link of the Google Docs for people to for the script supervisor or the director to go through. So that's simple as that. I don't think I've only used those apps twice or three times, but mostly I use Google Docs. So that's it.
Okay.
So you have any
I'll,
question? Any other
I'll go
question?
and try it out and see.
Okay, you can try it out and send to me.
Okay, sir.
Oh, I think that's will be all for tonight. Tomorrow we'll continue with writing for short films, skits, and social media. That's YouTube as well. Mr. Femi, Mr. Femi, can you hear me? Oh, okay. Hello, Mr. Femi. Hello, Mr. Femi. So give me a moment. Let me see if I can call him. Maybe something to his attention. Okay. Let's hope that he joins the call soon. But from everything I've said, I hope that we were able to write down a couple of things, especially the golden rule and dialogues and building a story. So please just go over it again and try to build something. Like I said before, a story must start with is the introduction of characters, the place, what they do, who they are. Then it builds into an incident, right? Something has to happen. Then that thing has to escalate in different expression, different forms. Then got to get to your midpoint where there's something like a turnaround. Then after that turnaround, then you have another crisis, a heightened crisis. And after the crisis, then we have the climax, which is the final confrontation. Then we have the resolution. So that's how your story has to build. A story without a story without conflict or crisis is not a story. So there must be crisis. Yeah. So that's something that you must always work with. I think you guys should try to come up with a story. You can write a draft, like a synopsis, a short summary of the story, and send it to myself or to Mr. Femi. Let me see. I want to just see how you can build your story with the arc that I've talked about. A synopsis is just a short over summary of your story, right? So please, if you can do that, that would really be very encouraging. Or if you have a story already that you've written, you can send it. So let me see how I can help you break it into different acts in story development. All right, Mr. Femi, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir. I was talking, I'd been talking, I don't really message you can do. That works also. That works also. That works also. So thank you all very much once again. I appreciate you all for coming. We largely came in very late today, and we had to now compress the time for our facilitator. So please let's try our best to be on time tomorrow. It's going to be awesome. I have actually roped him into something, into teaching us YouTube and monetization and all of that, especially for those of us that want to start our content creation journey. So before the end of tomorrow class, 20 30 minutes, 20 minutes thereabout, he would teach us on YouTube. He has a page, Raymond of Stars, Apojobago on YouTube. And I think Mr. Ramos, you can please tell us your YouTube channel so they can go check you up there, sir.
Yeah, just type Women Stars. You see it. Women Stars.
Okay,
Women
thank you
Stars
very much.
bracket the Willows. Yeah.
Yeah. Raymond of Stars in bracket the Windows. Raymond of Stars in bracket the Windows. So you can check it up on YouTube so that you know that I know what I'm saying when I say he's coming to give us a very good breakdown class on YouTube and monetization so that we can also begin our YouTube journey. He helped me. It's just that YouTube thing is not my forte yet, but God is helping us. He gave me a whole, like on 2 occasions we had conversation. He will teach me. It is all cameras taking my head. So please let's invite others tomorrow. Tell as many people out. I don't know, maybe because I didn't do a whole lot of announcement because of my schedule this week. Maybe that's why we weren't fully aware. But the last class on content creation, story writing, and YouTube monetization will be tomorrow, and you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss it. At least from today, you have a snippet, or rather, into what tomorrow would be like if he has the wrong time to take us. So be expecting us tomorrow. 7 p.m. is the time. We can join 5 minutes before the call. We'll be on the call waiting. Then we can invite him to start. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much. The teens community is not just for teenagers, basically. Anyways, it's for teens and youths. We have a channel that you can join also on Instagram, Teens Community Corner, on Facebook, Teens Community Corner, on YouTube, Teens Community Corner. Please do well to follow and just engage in all the content that are being shared on the WhatsApp channel too. You can just search Teens Community Corner, you would see it. Thank you all very much. Thank you for joining. We are really sorry we pushed, though usually we take about 2 hours. At least the last two sessions we've been using about 2 hours because of how intensive the classes were. So thank you all very much for joining. It wasn't a waste of time. I know we can say that definitely, that it wasn't a waste of time. Once again, thank you very much, Mr. Raymond. Thank you very much, sir. God bless you. God bless you. Let's just say a word of prayer. Deborah, can you 1 minute just give us or less a word of prayer?
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you, we give you glory and adoration. We thank you for tonight's meeting.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for our sister. Thank you for the convener. Thank you for everyone that has joined. Thank you for peaceful network. Father, we see my name be exalted in the name of Jesus. Father, as we go to bed tonight, oh Lord, take control. Our meeting tomorrow, Father, be with us, guide us. Let us
Amen.
understand everything we have learned and be able to impart it meaningfully.